Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be bringing you guys my player breakdown of Washington Commanders 4th round pick Percy Butler. I'll give you guys some background information on him. We'll go over some of his strengths and weaknesses. We'll go over some of his highlights, and we'll talk about if he's the best pure free safety in the NFL draft, like Chris Sims thinks. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Now, let's get right into the breakdown. Okay, so first we'll go over some background information, and then we'll get into his strengths and weaknesses, some of his highlights, and more. So Percy Butler, the Washington Commanders drafted him in the 4th round, 113th overall in the draft. You know, Percy Butler is about 6 foot, 194 pounds. These are numbers from the combine. 22 years old. He ran a 4.36 40-yard dash at the combine, which is amazing for a safety. Like, that is very, very good. You know, he had a 31.5-inch vertical leap at the combine, which isn't great, but at his pro day, he had a 35-inch vertical, which is solid. So an improvement there, and I think he had 13 bench press reps. So some background information on, Percy Butler. He was born and raised in Plaquemine, Louisiana, which is a city about 15 miles outside of Baton Rouge. And, that's the same city that, Redskins legend Brian Mitchell grew up in. So, they're kind of been keeping in contact and stuff, so that's great to hear right there. He played baseball growing up and into high school as well, was a cornerback, receiver, and safety in high school, switched over to safety his junior year of high school, was a district champion in the long jump and a regional champion in triple jump. So very versatile guy, 3-sport athlete, so you love to see that. And then you look at his stats right here. Played for Louisiana, and his freshman year, not too much. I believe he had a shoulder injury that year, played 6 games, had 9 total tackles, nothing much. His sophomore year, a lot better, had 54 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, had 3 forced fumbles. His junior year, even better, 44 total tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 2 interceptions with 2 forced fumbles, so created 4 turnovers that year. Also recovered 2 fumbles, and then in his senior year, played in 13 games, had his highest tackle total, yet 60 tackles, had 6 tackles for loss, had 1 interception, 3 fumble recoveries, no forced fumbles, but he was really, really good in the run game in 2021. So definitely improved from his freshman to his senior year. His first couple years primarily a special teams guy, especially freshman year, but he transitioned more and more into the defensive side of the ball. But he also still played special teams, and at a very, very high level. So that's kind of the background information on Percy Butler. Now let's get into some of his strengths and weaknesses. And real quick, before we get to the strengths and weaknesses, let me show you guys what Chris Sims had to say about Percy Butler after the Washington Commanders drafted him. He said, "The Commanders got the best pure free safety in the NFL draft in Percy Butler. Dude has tremendous range in center field. He is very good in all areas of coverage, let alone he has 3 rockets up his butt and can fly. He is not all coverage. He is a very good tackler too." So he was very high on, Percy Butler coming into the draft. I think he had him as like a top 5 safety. I'm not sure where in the top 5, because he said he's the best pure free safety, but obviously he had guys like Kyle Hamilton and Daxton Hill over him, but those guys aren't just pure free safeties. They play all over the place. So let's get into some strengths and weaknesses. I wish I could show some of the film, but a lot of it, has copyright issues. So I'll just be going over some of the strengths and weaknesses that I saw from watching the film and from some reports that I read. So some of the strengths, the obvious one, he is going to be a stud on special teams and will be able to contribute right away. I'll show you guys some of the highlights in a bit, but you guys probably have already seen it. Like, he flies down there. In another strength, he's a big hitter, very explosive, great burst. And you can see all that in his special teams tape when he's playing gunner. Like, it's insane. Like, not a lot of people have highlight reels of just special teams, but like Percy Butler has that. Like, he just gets down there real quick and just like hits them super hard, and it's fun to watch for sure, some of his special teams highlights. And you can't say that for a lot of guys, at least on defense. So that is a bonus. And even if it's taking him a while, if it takes him a while to develop on defense, like, he's going to be able to play on special teams right away if he's healthy. That's kind of the same thing we said with Derek Forrest last year, just to a lesser extent. But of course, he got injured and missed like the first 8, 9, 10 games of the season. So that was, really unfortunate. But like, he, again, one of the biggest things with Percy Butler, like, a lot of these things that you see on special teams tape are also applicable to his defensive, onto the defensive side of the football. Like, he's a big hitter. A lot of times, like, the guy will have it in his hands and Percy Butler will just knock it out, or the ball will just come out because of his big hit ability. He's explosive. He can get to the ball very quick, has great burst, and he has good recovery speed as well, and good range in the run game. Had a lot of tackles for loss this past season in the run game because of his range, and he has some big hits in the run game as well. So like, he has the traits are almost all there. I mean, 4.36 40-yard dash also. Like, he has a lot of the traits. He just has to put it all together, and that's up now to him, but also the coaches to develop that in him. Some of the weaknesses, he's not built very, he has a slender build, so that could lead to some durability concerns. Sometimes comes in too fast in some tackles, which leads to him completely whiffing on some tackles. So like, sometimes that's a positive, where it'll lead to a huge hit in the run game, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, but sometimes it will lead to a whiff. And if you're playing free safety, a lot of times you're the last man, and that could lead to a touchdown or a big gain right there. Does he also, another weakness or negative is that he didn't have the interception production you'd want in a safety in college. And interceptions aren't everything, but like, he had over the last couple years, he only had 3 interceptions, and over his 4 years he only had 3 interceptions. So that obviously can change, and sometimes that's just you're unlucky as a safety, but you want more than that. So hopefully he's able to do that at the next level, and he needs to play with some more control and discipline. So some of the other weaknesses that were listed here: angles to the football, need an upgrade, inconsistent tackle balance in pursuit to the flanks, needs consistent run and wrap through his targets, will require discipline versus play action, anticipation to the break and man coverage is average. But overall, I really like the traits that Percy Butler has, and they just have to put it all together. He has to, and the coaches do as well. Here's a quick clip. This is like non-copyrighted, so I can show it from 7v7. It's he gets an interception right here. They'll show him right there, and he shows the break to the ball and is able to make the interception. The receiver slips a little bit, but nonetheless is a good play for sure. And again, not copyrighted, so able to show it. So now let's get into some of his highlights before I talk about what I think Percy Butler will be able to do this year. Okay, so those were some of Percy Butler's highlights. Nothing crazy. Like, I wish I could show the film because that would be a better, that would be a much better breakdown. But unfortunately, the copyright rules don't allow me to show his film, so we decided to show the highlights. But now onto what Percy Butler could do for the Washington Commanders in 2022. Well, obviously, the first thing, like, even if he can't contribute right away on defense, he is going to play on special teams and probably will allow them to not have to keep Troy Apke, because now you drafted Derek Forrest in 2021. He missed the first part of the season, but when he came back, he played pretty much primarily on special teams, and then the last couple weeks, of the season, he actually started to get some snaps on defense. But I think Percy Butler will at least play special teams right away. Probably as a gunner, him, Derek Forrest, Cam Sims can do it sometimes as well. Like, they do not have to keep Troy Apke, in my opinion, this year after drafting Percy Butler and already having Derek Forrest and having some other guys that can play special teams. So he will at least be able to do that. And I think in training camp, stuff like that, he's going to try to compete for that big nickel or Buffalo nickel spot, like kind of a bigger corner, linebacker / safety, whatever, and he'll be in that package if he plays well. If not, it could be Derek Forrest, who's been playing well so far. It could be some other guys as well, depending on how everyone looks. But this is something right here. So stats, shout out Hogs Haven. New Commanders safety Percy Butler played 52% of the snaps from the slot or box last year, lending credence to Rivera's belief that he can fill the Buffalo nickel role. He also missed 13 tackles in 2021, but that was more than he missed in the previous 2 years combined, 12. And I forgot to talk about this, but he was playing through an injury last year as well, which could have led to him missing, some more tackles. So ideally, Percy Butler is your, Buffalo nickel, big nickel, whatever you want to call it, in 2022, and he'll be able to play like 50% of the snaps or whatever. And if Cam Curl needs a breather or whatever, he can play free safety, or if he's injured, something like that. We will see though. But I really like Percy Butler. He seems like a nice guy. He also just has the traits. Like, he is one of those guys that they drafted that has super high upside. A lot of the other guys are kind of high floor, low ceiling guys, but Percy Butler definitely has a high ceiling, especially for a 4th round pick. So I'm really hoping they can put, Percy Butler can put it together. And same thing with, the coaching staff. Haven't heard anything crazy so far in OTAs about him playing amazing and stuff like that. He has a lot on his plate to handle because he has to learn a lot of the plays for the safeties and corner as well, and Buffalo nickel, because he's kind of playing that spot. Buffalo nickel is kind of a mix between a bunch of those positions, so it's definitely a tough transition for him from college to the NFL to have to know all that on defense, but he's working hard. I'm excited to see what he can do. He's one of my favorite rookies and one of my favorite draft picks from the Washington Commanders. So let me know what you guys think about Percy Butler and expectations for him in his first year. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.